What's up, my dudes? I just want to say congratulations. If you're watching this video, you've decided to start playing Exos Heroes. The game's been out in South Korea since late 2019, but it's only just been released globally in the last 3 months. And the best time to start a game is when it just comes out to get ahead of the curve. My name's Seekart, and I'm here to tell you about Guardian Stones and mana mechanics, but mostly Guardian Stones. Let's just call this Guardian Stones 101. If you've ever played other gacha games, you'll notice the system in this game is much more in-depth with battle system, mechanics, gear upgrades, etc. This guide should cover the hardest part to get your head around everything in though. The tutorial in-game covers a lot, but it doesn't cover even more. Personally, I did the tutorial in-game, got as much as I could, but the game didn't tell me a lot and I had to study for it. I'm trying to avoid that for you guys out there. So I just want to start off by saying I make these videos for fun and casually. So if you do find this information useful, please like and comment, even subscribe if you want. But continuing on to the fun stuff, heroes in this game are broken into 4 career types. Those types being either attack, tank, support, or chaos. Additionally, each hero is assigned an elemental attribute that they cannot change. These elements, as laid out, can be either frost, fire, machine, nature, light, or dark. You'll see Guardian Stones laid out on this list, but I want to knock out the careers and attributes for each hero first, since those are static and cannot be changed later in the game, unlike adding Guardian Stones, which can be re-rolled to what you want, but we'll get more into depth than that towards later. So starting off, so using a sexy hero like Sabrina here as an example, when you pull up a character profile in game, you'll see 3 icons in the top left. Those icons represent hero's attribute, career type, and what type of damage they do. In Sabrina's case, she has fire, attack, and deals physical damage. These are vital to know because the first 2 icons determine the 2 ways the character will gain mana in battle. The third icon will either be a cross to symbolize physical damage, or it will be a diamond, meaning the character will be considered doing magic damage. Why does that matter? Ultimately, later on, you'll come across in PvP like abilities and defenses that protect against one type of damage or the other, or they can boost one or the other, etc. Moving on to how a character will gain mana. Like I said, there's 2 ways. The first way is for the career part of it. For attack and chaos types, they will gain 1 mana for landing a hit on an enemy hero. For tanks and support types, they will do the exact opposite, and they will gain 1 mana for when they get hit themselves. Easy, right? Though it should be noted, mainly the difference between attack and chaos is that chaos types are more oriented for doing combos or making conditions to combo into. Attack types are usually straight up damage. There's not too much complexity to them. Tank and support are similar, but as you might have guessed, tanks are better at staying alive, and supports are better off buffing and healing the team. The second way heroes gain mana is through their assigned hero attributes, which is the element symbol, the second one. This part varies greatly. Starting off with fire heroes. Fire heroes gain 1 mana when anyone on their team successfully lands a critical hit. Armor and gear you have will also add critical chances for a critical hit. So this way you can get mana really fast with fire types. Additionally, moving on, we have frost types who gain 1 mana when anyone on their team successfully blocks an attack. That's anyone on their team. Again, armor and gear add chance for a block chance. So frost heroes gain mana very fast as well. Honestly, fire and ice type heroes, they have almost an unnatural advantage in terms of gaining mana. They're usually straight offensive heroes. It's almost an unfair advantage, but there's pros and cons to every element. You'll find out later on. Next on the list, we have machine type heroes who gain 1 mana if the hero itself has 80% or more of its max HP at the start of its turn. It's key to note that unlike Frost or Fire, who gain mana from like allies, machine types only their effect only applies to itself. So at most, a machine type hero can only gain exactly 1 mana per round from that source, because it only applies to itself. So, and for this reason alone, it makes machine types heroes hard to gain lots of mana, so they're slow on that end. Moving on to like the nature attribute heroes, heroes with the clover sign, you'll see, will gain 1 mana for any unit on their team or the enemy's team for this matter. That's a unique feature for nature elements. It's key to note. This might be the only one I think that has the enemy team included in their effect. But to continue on, the nature element gains 1 mana for any unit on their team or the enemy's team that has less than 30 HP left. So at the start of that nature hero's turn, he gains 1 mana for every hero on the board on his side and the enemy's side that has 30 HP or less. So as far as I can tell, this mana gain comes at the beginning of the nature hero's turn. It is insanely powerful in terms of mana gain potential and can literally fill up your entire mana bar if everyone is at low HP. Now, you heard me earlier on say that fire and ice type heroes have an unnatural advantage for gaining mana compared to other types. And you hear me going on about nature types being insanely powerful. But the thing with nature types is in the first half of battle, you usually, you're not, it's potentially. Sometimes the enemy is barriered and they got tons of health and it takes a while. So you might get tons of mana or you might get no mana. It varies greatly, but it has potential. Nature element has potential for greatness. Just be aware of that. Next off, we got the light hero attribute, which lets a light hero keep 1 mana at all times if everyone in their party is alive. Honestly, I think light heroes are screwed because of this exact trait. Light by far has the worst mana gain potential because at best you keep 1 mana. Okay. So if you have 1 or more mana already at the start of your turn, you get nothing. There's nothing to gain. It only gives you something if you have 0 mana. Nothing is gained. So if even one of your teammates is dead, then you're guaranteed to gain nothing. It's rough being a light hero. Lastly, we got dark heroes. Dark attribute heroes, which gives +1 mana for each dead hero on your team. Honestly, this isn't that great either, as you want to avoid letting teammates die. It could be potentially good late game if that specific dark hero is the only one left. But it's just not ideal in most situations, especially considering that most dark heroes, as of now, aren't the best at staying alive. Okay, that covers the 2 ways a hero can gain mana. Moving on to Guardian Stones, which might just been the whole reason why you watched this video, so sorry for wasting your time if that was the only reason. There is 2 aspects you should know about stones. They are beneficial. They have a beneficial effect for the hero they're on, because you can equip the Guardian Stones to heroes, okay? And they have a negative effect for that hero if broken. So it's a pro-con relationship with Guardian Stones. When you see an enemy, you'll see how many stones he has, but you won't see what element each stone is until you hit the stone with the same element. So if, for example, if an enemy has 6 fire stones equipped, and you hit him with a fire attack, one of those fire stones will be broken, and the rest of the fire stones will at the very least be revealed. So you'll know they're fire stones. So you know what to hit him with next turn again. If the enemy is using different stone types, you'll only be able to reveal the ones that are hit with that same element. So if he has, let's say, 3 light guardian stones and then 3 fire, and you hit him with fire attack, you'll see the 3 red ones and the one you broke, but the other 3 light ones will be a mystery until you hit them with a light attack. This is important to know because people in PvP will usually use one of 2 Guardian Stone strategies, which you should memorize to heart. The first one being having one type of Guardian Stone on each character. For example, having one hero have all light, another have all dark, all fire, etc., etc. This mostly guarantees that if only one character... it guarantees that only one character can be broken at a time if you have them with all different elements. It's considering it like minimizing damage. It's a solid strat. It's worked very well for the top tier guys in PvP. The second stone strategy in PvP you'll see used is using a combination of many different Guardian Stones on every character, which makes it much, much harder to break any of those characters. The downside to this strategy is that you will lose the stack bonus for having multiple stones of the same element, which I'll get into more detail on that later on. You'll see, but having a combination like 2 or one of every type of stone on it, it's impossible. It's rough trying to break those characters because you constantly have to test out elements on each one. But moving on, situationally, you're in battle and you know what stones the enemy has. Next key piece is to know that a different effect happens to the enemy depending on the final type of stone you break them with. Keyword final. If an enemy has, just say, 2 fire stones and 2 light stones, the Guardian Stone you break last will determine the break effect. The break effect are all different colors depending on what element you break them with for their last stone. I can't stress that enough. So let's go into each Guardian Stone break details for each element. Again, let's start off with the fire element. I like starting off with that one first. If a hero is broken by the fire element, meaning that the last stone on them is fire and they get that broken, then during their turns that they are broken, all damage on that hero will be critical. Fire Guardian Stones are by far the worst type of stones to be broken on for your team. So it just about guarantees the hero is not going to survive the break turns because critical damage in this game is massive. So if you're thinking about stacking 6 Firestones on one character, I would highly recommend not doing that just because there's a lot of fire heroes and you're looking at that guy dying fast. Next up, we'll go with Frost again. Frost heroes that are broken by Frost will have their defense values completely ignored. This ensures that they will take more damage, but honestly, the punishment for that isn't all that bad when you compare it to something like Fire's punishment. Losing your defense, you take a lot of damage. It's similar to having Fire's punishment, but if you do the numbers, it's not nearly as bad. It's still bad though. Okay, so we're in the bad negatives. Next up, we have the machine stones. If you get a machine stone break on yourself, the break status for machine stones makes it so the break status will last an additional 5 turns. Normally, a break will only last 7 turns. So having a hero broken for 12 turns, it's very painful. It's very painful. That's basically forever in terms of PvP status. Usually you won't see too many machine Guardian Stones stacked for this reason. I barely see them at all in the top tier PvPs just because that's so extreme. 12 turns of breakage. Next up, we have nature breaks. When a broken enemy receives damage each when a hero is broken with the nature element. They will receive damage each turn that equals a percentage of their max health. Honestly, this isn't that bad. It hurts tanks the most, but everyone else, it's very meh. Next up, we got light Guardian Stone breaks, which gives the attacker 30% of their max health when they attack. Again, this isn't that bad. I know it sounds like a lot. You're like, oh, 30% of their max health back. That's such a strong heal. It really isn't. In terms of punishments for being broken, that is nothing. You can take down 30% of an enemy's HP like that. Okay, that's that might be the least bad punishment of the elements. Lastly, we have darkness. Darkness breaks. They give the attacker 1 mana back. And you know what? In my opinion, that is definitely a weak punishment. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, like you got nature, light, and darkness Guardian Stones. They're the best to have equipped on characters because they ultimately provide the least amount of punishment if you do get those characters broken. That's key to remember. If you ever look in PvP and top tiers and the top players, you'll see them constantly swapping between a mix of nature, light, and darkness on their characters. You hardly ever see fire. Frost you'll see on certain characters for sure. Machine, I barely ever see those at all. And if you remember what I said at the beginning, I said Guardian Stones have both a negative and positive effect. Okay, the break effect is the negative. Now we'll move on to what benefits each type of Guardian Stone will give to a hero. Start off, a hero will have 1 Guardian Stone on them naturally. You can swap it out, but it will be on them. It's not other ones. There's 6 Guardian Stones you can have on a hero. 1 is on them at all times naturally. The other 5 are provided from gear. Okay, you have to pick up special gear and each piece of the little gear will provide a Guardian Stone. Okay. Later on, you'll get the gear itself for the Guardian Stones. It's rare, okay, but it's not so rare. Later on, if you play this game long enough, you'll get what you need. All of these stones in the gear and even on the hero itself for Guardian Stone types, they can be changed. If you go to Door of Creation, you can change all this stuff to a different element of your choosing, which is how people do it. Every Guardian Stone element in a piece of gear will have a set effect. If you look up in the top right section, there's a different effect for depending on what Guardian Stone you have equipped to that gear. For example, looking at this piece of gear, you'll see it says fire set effect for 2, 4, or 6. This means that depending on how many fire Guardian Stones you have equipped to your hero or to that hero specifically, you will get the additional effect below. And for the fire Guardian Stones, you get either 5, 10, or up to 20% permanent damage reduction, depending on how many fire stones you have equipped. Like I say, you have 2, 4, or 6. Most people, if they're doing the first Guardian Stone strategy, they'll have the full 6 with 1 element. So that's usually what you should look at. This is the part of the game where you have to greatly consider pros and cons. Stacking Firestones and getting 20% damage reduction on all damage is huge. It's for sure huge, okay? But you have to consider the negative effect of that element, the break effect as well. Fire by far has the worst negative effects for punishment on break effects. For this reason alone, you'll hardly ever see people in PvP stacking Firestones. It's considered extremely high risk, high reward thing, okay? Moving on to the rest of the Guardian Stone elements. For positive effects, for darkness, you can, if you have like up to 6 Darkness Stones equipped on a hero, you can get up to 30% lifesteal effect on a hero at a full 6 stack. That's pretty good. It's not crazy good, but AoE heroes likely benefit the most from this because they hit every character on the other team, which essentially has the potential to heal them to full health easily. Additionally, the punishment for darkness is weak, if you remember. For being broken, it just gives the enemy 1 mana for each attack. It's not that great. So it just adds to the reasons of why darkness is favored so heavily in PvP. Next up, we have Frost Guardian Stones equipped, which at max equipped in a 6 set can greatly increase that hero's block ability. Very, very good on Frost heroes. Because if you remember, Frost heroes gain mana from anyone who does a successful block on their team. Even though Frost breaks are nearly as painful as Fire breaks, this is one of those situations where the pros outweigh the cons, okay? I feel like this whole game is a series of pros and cons. You just got to constantly be weighing. If you try to attack a Frost hero with high blockage and you do no damage, you'll understand why this is so powerful. There's so many times where I'm in PvP and I see some Anastasia maxed out with Frost Stones. I know they're Frost Stones because I go to smack her and it does nothing, and I see that she's blocking every other attack. Next up, we have Nature Stones, which can be equipped. Equipped Nature Stones at a 6 set, they increases a hero's dodge. It honestly isn't bad since it can straight up negate damage. Nature Stones, they're in their own. I feel like Nature Stones are in their own world. They're considered very balanced all around. The benefits for Nature Stones aren't amazing, but the negative effects aren't painful at all. So it's like the all-rounder for elements. So you can't ever go wrong. It's a safe pick for putting on a hero. Next up, the Machine Guardian Stones with a full 6 set provide status effect immunity for up to twice a round. It's pretty good. That's not bad at all. This essentially means you are immune to being provoked, silenced, stunned, shocked, poisoned, burned, and who knows what else. Okay, that's pretty big. Having a full machine set on a character today is considered anti-meta, as many top players in PvP rely on dishing out certain status effects that could straight up screw their strategy. Lastly, we have the Light Element Guardian Stones, which, when fully equipped with 6 stones on your hero, will create a barrier that heroes this one is very OP. With a full 6 stack of light stones, you gain a 2000 HP barrier every turn. This, in my opinion, is the strongest positive effect offered from any of the Guardian Stone types. The 2000 HP barrier, I mean, technically it's 1940 in terms of HP, but that's around up to 2000. But it refreshes every turn. Additionally, the light break effect, if you remember, it's so weak. So in this case, you've got extremely good benefits for very little punishment. If you look at top players in PvP, you'll notice they heavily lean to light, dark, and nature, and frost stones in that order. That should cover everything you need to know about Guardian Stones that the tutorial will not tell you straight up. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've enjoyed it, like and subscribe, comment. Have a good day.